Hello, and welcome to the third part of this Scripting Basics Unity tutorial. This tutorial is going to focus on the Get component. Get component is so important in my opinion that it deserves a video all unto itself. And let's go ahead and jump right into what it is. So I've set up a blank 2D Unity project, and I imported a audio clip of just a piano playing a little bit of music. For this tutorial, if you would like to follow along, please find an audio clip. It doesn't matter if it's a .wav or a .mp3 file, but you'll want to bring that into Unity to be able to use for today's demonstration. What we're going to do is we're going to create an object. So in the hierarchy, go ahead and right-click, select 3D object, and let's create an empty game object. And we're going to call this, by pressing F2, we're going to call this audio source. As its name suggests, this is going to be a source of audio which is going to play the sound effect that we imported. To be able to do that, we have to use the audio source component. If you haven't seen the using audio video, please check that out on this channel. We're going to click Add Component, and let's go ahead and search for audio source. It'll be the second from the bottom. And then go ahead and please drag your audio clip to the audio clip slot here, unselect play on awake. So that's actually all the setup that we need to do for that. What we're going to do now is we're going to right click in here, select create empty one more time, and then go ahead and press F2 and rename this to audio controller. So we have an audio source, which actually has an audio source component on it that is holding the audio clip that we want to play. We have another game object called audio controller, and this is going to be responsible for handling the audio in our scene. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click in the assets folder, select create C# script, and just like the name of the game object, go ahead and call this script audio controller, all one words, A and C capitalized. Then go ahead and open up the script in Visual Studio by double-clicking the icon in the assets folder. That will launch Visual Studio. Let me go ahead and reload my Visual Studio. Perfect. There we go. So now we have this audio controller, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a public game object here. This public game object is going to be a variable. Let me type it out, and then let's talk about it. So public game object, and we're going to call it audio source. Perfect. Alright, so previously in our scripting tutorial part 1 and 2, we talked about what a variable is. So a variable, again, represents a container that holds data, and it's going to be data of a specific type. In this case, we declared a public variable, the type being of game object, which means it can hold anything that is a game object, which in Unity, anything inside of the hierarchy is a game object. Now the public keyword we didn't introduce before. If we go ahead and save this, and it looks like I had an additional script here. Let me go ahead and delete that. You won't have that. What we're going to do is select on the audio controller, go ahead and drag the audio controller directly onto the audio controller game object so it looks just like this. Alright, what you're going to notice is you have an audio source property here, and it says none game object. So the name of the variable is going to appear here. Unity is going to automatically separate that and capitalize it. You can see here it's called audio source, but this is the camel case notation, which is the very first letter is going to be lowercase, but subsequent words in the variable name will be uppercase. Unity is going to automatically separate those and capitalize the first one so that it looks like this. Because it's a public, it's going to show up on the inspector just like this. To prove that, if we were to go ahead and delete that public off and resave the script and come back here, once Unity recompiles, you'll notice that it is gone. We do want this to be public though, because what we're going to do is when that pops back up, we're going to go ahead and drag this audio source into this slot. So again, click, hold, and drag the audio source into the audio source slot on this audio controller. Now we've done something pretty significant here. We've connected these two objects. We have an audio source object, and we have an audio source slot variable here, and we just drag this object to create the connection with this variable. So when we manipulate this inside of our script, we are actually manipulating this. That's going to be very helpful for us because what I'd like to show you how to do is in the start function, we want to be able to play that audio that we brought in. Well, if we try to play the audio, before we even actually write a line of code, let me demonstrate what we're trying to do. The audio source has the ability to play its music. So it's going to be a play function. So what we essentially want to do is something along the lines of audio source dot play, because that will play the music. But Unity is not very happy about that because we don't have a play method on a game object. A game object is the most generic way in which we can describe something inside of Unity. And it's not really the game object that we want to call the play function on, because we want to play the audio source, because the audio source has the audio clip in it which we want to play. So what we're going to have to do instead is we're going to actually have to get the audio source component, excuse me, I opened up a different project, is we're going to get the component off of that. So go ahead and get rid of the play if you type that out, and we're going to do audio source dot get component, and we're going to actually type audio source again. You'll see it pop up there, parentheses dot play. Okay, that was a lot of stuff there. Let me go ahead and break down each component. We previously talked about the connection between this audio source here and the audio controller connection there. Then, since we're referencing it by name, what we want to do is get a component off of it. Well, remember when we created the audio source and we clicked the add component, we added the audio source? Well, now we just want to get it. That's all we want to do. We want to be able to use it. So we say get component off of this object, and I want to get the audio source off of it. If I wanted to get something else, what are some other things that I could get? Well, this doesn't really have a lot that we could get off of it. It only has a transform. Yes, we could get the transform. Other objects, you'll notice, will have things like mesh filters and mesh renderers, which is a topic for a different video, but really all I want to illustrate is if we wanted to get the mesh filter off of this instead of the audio source in our script, we would type mesh filter instead of audio source. But in this case, I do want the audio source, so I'm going to keep that just like that. We actually don't even need the update function, so I'm going to completely delete that. Okay, so this is actually as complex as our script is going to get. We created a public variable that allows it to show up on the inspector of the script that this is attached to. And in the start function, which is called when the scene is created, it will go ahead and get the audio source component off of that reference and then call the play on it. So if we have it set up correctly and we come back to Unity and we press play, we can hear the audio play. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it coming through my speakers, but you should be able to hear it coming through yours if you were following along. Alright, so that is the get component. You'll want to use this to get various components, whether it be audio sources, other scripts, other game objects. I hope this video is really helpful, and I hope you're really excited about this scripting inside of Unity. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to leave them in a comment in the comment section below, or reach out to your instructor for direct help. Thank you very much.